All right. So your objective assessment is basically going to be the practice assessment, the pre-assessment, and the questions from the pre-assessment come directly from chapter 8 of the Zai books. I think it's the first 14 or 15, really the ones that you should focus on. And so if you come to chapter 8 of Zai books, you want to get really good at these, learn them, why you're using what you're using, and be able to write them up because your objective assessment is your pre-assessment, and your pre-assessment is chapter 8. So in other words, your test is basically chapter 8. And the first 4 or 5 questions are multiple choice. And those are very similar to the ones on the pre-assessment as well. And those really come if you took class a D426 Data Management Foundations, you will learn a lot from that. And if not, chapter 1 and 2 of the Zai books are a good review for the multiple choice questions. But for example, so diving right into the lab, these are the ones you want to get really good at. And so in the spreadsheet I provided, as you see here, you have lab 8.1. This is the solution, and this is the question to it. So if you recognize the questions on the exam will be very similar. It'll just change up, of course, like the name of the table, but it'll be very similar. So if you learn to recognize what it's asking, you'll know what you need to type in. So, for example, let's just fill this one out. And it's okay if you need to just copy and paste it until you kind of get the pattern. And so you'll paste it, you'll run the program. Some of them will produce no output. And so what you'll do is you'll go to submit mode, and this will tell you your grading score for it. So you won't have an option to test your code once you submit it in Zybooks. It's either an exam you just submit or nothing. So of course this one is passing all 6 out of 6. So let's break this down. So this is asking us, of course, it's telling us the definitions for the member table. It needs to have a column as a positive integer, a column as a first name with a variable length string up to 100 characters. It needs to have a middle initial column with this and so forth. And so we'll begin our code first by defining the function create a table. So create table, the name is member. You want to open parentheses because you're about to list all your columns. And your first column, you will list what the column is. So it's going to be an ID, going to be an integer, of course. And since it's positive, it's going to be unsigned. Unsigned is any number between 0 and I believe 65,538. So that's what makes it unsigned. And then we move on to defining our first name column. Again, it's going to be a variable length string for up to 100 characters, which this case, a varchar is a variable length string. All it means is that if you were to type in somebody's name, it can change. For example, you may have Bob and Dylan and James and Sally. Those are different variables because they can be different names. So it'll be characters that change, and this can go up to 100 characters. So you define that as varchar 100. When you think of variable length, just think varchar, and then in parentheses will be whatever your amount. So this were variable length up to 50 characters, and this would be varchar 50, for example. Then your middle initial, it's a fixed length of 1 character. Again, the reason why it's not a variable character or varchar is because it's only going to be 1 length. It's only 1 initial, 1 letter, so you only allow 1 character. You wouldn't allow 2 characters or anymore. So last name, again, same thing as first name. It can accept any value as long as it's 100 or less characters. Date of birth, very simple. Name of the column is date of birth, and it's a date is the constraint on it, so the data type. So it'll just be date, so it's formatted as a date. The annual pledge will be a positive decimal, representing up to a cost of $999,999 with 2 digits. So the way we break this down, of course, our column name is annual pledge, so we'll state that. Then it's going to be a decimal, so we use a decimal data type. And in here, parentheses where it says 82, what that means is that we have 8 digits total if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 digits for cents. So say that this were 999, 999 and 99 cents .99. So that's your 8 characters. So you break this up. The first number is how many characters total? 6 here plus 2, that's 8, and then 2 for decimal. So your decimal, you'll have 2 numbers after the decimal, so 2 digits. So that's 2. First one is your total, including your the dollars plus the cents, which is 8, and then 2, which is defining how many significant digits you're using, which is 2 cents. If you were to have 3 decimal points, 3 numbers after the decimal point, then this would be a 3. And again, it's an unsigned because it's positive. And so there's a way built into the exam. You don't have develop mode where you can run for errors. Once you submit, you submit. If you take the pre-assessment, you'll get a good idea of how to do this. But there is a way to check your statements. For example, say there is this option to check member. Sorry, that's in all caps. This is going to check your table. You just created your member table, and it'll tell you what your constraints and data types are for that one. So you'll in develop mode, you'll run program. Oops, excuse me. I haven't done this in a while, so let's check table. Okay, so this is check table member. Again, it's showing it's all good. That one works on some of them. If not, then I recommend running the describe table. Then it's actually messed up. It should be describe table. So this will describe the table you just created. For example, your ID is 1. It means it's positive. Your table name is member. You don't have any partitions. You accept types. You don't have any primary keys or foreign keys, so it's going to be null. And so, as long as your check table and describe table come out okay, you should be good. But this is really important. Make sure before you submit your question that you erase the described statement you're using. So erase that, otherwise your code will come back wrong. It'll be graded wrong. It has to be exactly what they're looking for. So you want to erase that. And before, on the exam or the pre-assessment, you'll have a box here that says like submit and next question. You want to make sure to run it again. And then after that, you would submit for grading. Otherwise, it'll be wrong. And for example, in Zybooks, it'll practice one. You could leave it, and it would accept it. But in the exam, you want to make sure to delete this statement. So we'll move on to another one. Let's choose one that involves adding data. And so let's see. Let's call that 8.9. And again, you can just look at your solutions and break it down as you're learning. Get good with it. And so, for example, this one's telling us to insert code into the table. So we're going to use the insert into, define the table. Your columns are going to be title, genre, ready, code in here. And make sure it's capitalized, make sure it's spelled exactly. If I were to make this title with lowercase t, it would be wrong. For example, let's submit the code right now, and you'll see all of the tests pass. See all 6 tests passed. But if I were to change this to title, lowercase title, and then submit, well, in this case, it actually grades it. But believe me, if you use a lowercase t on the actual exam, it's going to count it wrong. That happened to me in one of the questions, and it was wrong, even though I did everything right. Yes, just make sure you follow exactly as it described it. And so, for example, this one want to insert into you define your columns, and then you have to define your values. And to be Pride and Prejudice, Romance, G 2005, exactly as it's spelled, exactly as it's capitalized. When you're inserting data into a table, you can actually verify that's been inserted. So you can do a select all, or select from movie, and on develop mode, run your program, and it should return the queries. It'll return whole data, and as you can see right here, Pride and Prejudice, Romance, G 2005. So our statement works because it inserted it. Otherwise, for example, let's delete that from here. Let's run our program. And as you can see, ID 11 is missing, which is Pride and Prejudice because we hadn't inserted it. But again, once we return the code, run the program, and it's back there. So exactly as it's described. Romance, Pride and Prejudice, doesn't. So let's move on to one more when we're being asked to create a foreign key. For example, 8.2 asks you to create a table with a foreign key. You can check if you created a foreign key properly by going into within the develop mode, and you can add a table, which would be your describe statement. Describe table movie. So for this one, of course, we're adding a title column, variable length up to 30 characters, rating code variable length 5 characters, then foreign key. For your foreign key will be the rating code. This allows you to designate the rating code column as the foreign key. So your syntax will be foreign key in parentheses rating code, because that's the one rating code. And this is referencing. So references the rating code column in the rating table. So rating code column in the rating table. And so the format for that one is table name, then column that's being referenced. For example, the rating code is the foreign key to the rating code that's within the rating column table. So foreign key rating code, and it's referencing the rating table, and within that column, within that table, the rating code column. So check your statement, use describe table movie, and then you'll run your program, and this will display your output here. So for example, really what we're looking for is your foreign key. Again, this is going to break down your foreign keys and what's in there. So if we were to submit this, and again, remember, before you submit it on the practice exam, on the pre-assessment or the actual exam, definitely the actual exam, make sure you delete the extra line of code that you added. And you want to make sure to run the program after you deleted it. Even if you delete it and then you submit it, it'll take the last thing you ran. So you'll run the program after you've deleted it and then hit submit it on your exam, and you move on to the next one. So that's essentially the gist of this. What you want to do is work through labs 8. You can copy and paste the code. Just go up into the column here, select all, and copy and paste it, and then run it and submit. Run it. Get familiar with the statement. Learn, kind of the syntax and language that you're using, and this is for all of them. Now, the reason this is highlighted yellow and red, these are the harder ones. Green are the ones that are easy, as you can tell just by the code. It's relatively easy. These are your joint statements. And so what I would do first, I would recommend focusing on learning the green ones, because these are the easy ones, and just repeat them as many times as you need within the Zybooks. Go repeat them over and over again in Zybooks until you learn it, memorize the order, and then move on to this lab 8.15, which is the yellow one. Once you get this one, then I would move on to the red one. Honestly, I did not even attempt this one on the exam. I just entered some random word like nope or skip in the exam, and I still was able to pass. As long as you can get, I'd say all the green ones and all the multiple choice, you should be good. Again, the multiple choice is just like a practice exam, very simple stuff. And so, yeah, just focus on the green ones and then move on to the yellow and red if you want to. But as long as you get all the green ones and the multiple choice, you should pass your exam. And then remember, if you use a describe statement, just make sure you always delete it, run your code again, and then submit, and you should be good. But as always, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to set up a Zoom session I apologize if this isn't the best descriptive or best format, but I'm always happy to help out and set up a live video call to walk you through it if you need some help.